I did it! It's over! Oh my god! I finished another challenge! Woo! Okay, let me start off right off the top. I accidentally gave Cornelius here a yaoi hand. I messed up. But I was like, no, I'm almost done. I'm not gonna change it. I'm not gonna redraw it to make, like, him proportional to the size of the hand. I'm not gonna redraw the hand or like try and scrape it away or redo it, so I just kept it in and kept going. So that is one of the wonders of Inktober. You just kind of go with it. So yeah, my findings from doing Inktober like legit this year. I mean, I did it legit last year, but it was a lot of like forgetting about it and then doing a bunch of them on like one day. So yeah, I actually kept up with doing it every day this time, and I'm really happy with it. And I learned a lot about using a dip pen and about like using a brush with ink, using ink washes and stuff, and I'm very, very happy. There were a lot of mistakes made, definitely. Big part of it, first, I was getting used to using the new tools, which is really tough, because I've never really used a dip pen before, so I had to learn a lot about, like, you know, how much ink do I use. I had to learn, like, to cut my ink with water. I'm not exactly sure why. I think it was, like, just a little thick and kind of old, because I got it, like, a year ago for last Inktober. But yeah, I had to learn a lot about the technique. I'm not super used to traditional because I definitely am primarily a digital artist, so I had to learn a lot about not having a lot of the digital tools, like being able to resize things, having to redraw things. So there's a lot of that going in. When I made a mistake, it was permanent. I couldn't undo it very easily. So I have a lot of pictures in this challenge that are very weirdly proportioned. Lots of people who are like stunted by the edge of the page, meaning like, I don't know, like Delani, his legs are way too short because I wanted to put his feet into the picture, but I drew his head and shoulders too big. There's a whole bunch of pictures in this challenge that are very weird looking, that have weird mistakes, or like I put a line in the wrong place, or like ink dropped, or I smudged it, but overall, I'm very, very happy with how things turned out. I learned a lot about inking, and I think that was just my thought process through the whole thing. I was like, I don't really care if this is like a bad drawing. My focus here is to just make my lines better and my techniques better, and I think I got a lot better as it went on. There are some pictures in here that I'm really proud of. I really like the line quality in them. I'm really happy with like the variety of lines I could get and the variety of like the ink washes I could manage. So yeah, that was my focus, and I'm by no means perfect at this yet, and I want to do this more often, but I'm very happy with what I got out of it. There's a lot of improvement from day 1 to day 31. Having to work traditionally has really made me tighten up my lines quite a bit. I'm someone who works very fast and loose in my inking, especially in digital, where if I don't like something, I can just erase it. Where now it's like, well, this is permanent, so I better move slowly and make sure that this line is like straight and where I want it, or curved and where I want it, whatever it is. So it made me slow down quite a bit. Also, there would be days when Bones was like, can you make your footage longer? I have a lot to talk about. Ugh, Sarah. Princess Sarah, I swear. It also forced me to draw a lot of detail. I'm like, I can't rely on color to make this stand out. In digital, I tend to work very pulled out from my canvas, so I get a good look at like the composition of the picture and how it looks overall, but I rarely go in and work on all the little details. But working like this, where I'm forced to work slower, I definitely put in a lot more detail work on, say, like, the details of clothing or the lines on their faces. There was also so many drawings of OCs that I had to, like, force myself to, like, not make them all look the same. I don't think I achieved it every time. A lot of the designs I chose for these characters, I would probably redo quite a bit if I was actually to design these characters, because a lot of this is the first time I've ever drawn them. Some of them I'm like, yeah, that looks exactly like how I picture them, and then there's others where I'm like, oh, that is not how I picture them at all. Either way, my focus was on the inking technique, not on the character design. Given the chance, I would redesign a lot of these characters. And yeah, I got to try out a lot of very, like, stark contrast stuff, which I really like. I got to try different textures just using, like, my pen or, like, an ink wash, which I really enjoyed. I had a lot of fun, and I'm really happy that people liked hearing about our roleplay characters. It just makes me happy. It's really nice. Thank you guys so much for watching all of these, and Bones and I definitely plan to do more, both with working traditionally, like I want to do more traditional inks with things, because I want to keep going and keep improving with it, and it's really fun, and I have a whole bunch of ink that I really need to use. So we'll continue doing these, and doing OC story times where we talk about our characters some more. We'll likely be doing OC story times monthly. We're still figuring out the format, but we will do more of them in the future. Heck yeah. So I'm gonna talk about these sweet boys. So I am drawing more characters from the Monster Mash because it's Halloween and I wanted to draw vampires. So these are the vampires of the Monster Mash RP. So on the left, there is Cornelius, the lovely vampire man who owns the Monster Mansion where most of the characters live. In the middle is Sid, who's a young vampire who's fairly newly turned. And on the right is Harry Barnes. He is a professor at the college that they all go to. He's also a vampire. And a major cutie. So I guess I'll start with Cornelius. So I've talked about him before in the story time about Gigi and Colin, which you can listen to if you click around on that card there. But Cornelius, he runs a mansion for wayward monsters, I guess. He gives them like a room and everything they need. He basically pays for everything. A lot of the characters go to like school and he pays for that. But in exchange, his wife, Lucy, who is a crazy mad scientist, gets to experiment on these monsters. And some of it is like good experimenting where she's like, I am going to cure you of your werewolfism. But some of it is like, she's just curious how silver will react to a werewolf, so she'll give them silver. And it's really mean and horrible. And she's not very considerate of other people's feelings at all. She's like a mad scientist lady. So Corny, he's a vampire. His wife is a human. He's kind of eccentric. He's like nice for a vampire. The vampires in this world they're pretty territorial. Like a lot of them have like groups. I guess covens. Do we call them covens? There's lots of like vampire gangs that hang out. He kind of looks over the city and he doesn't like many other vampires living there, but he won't bother you if you don't bother him. He's very old. He's attained quite a bit of wealth because he is such an old man. He's had wives before. His current one is Lucy. You want to call him a nerd. He's just weird. So he has a lot of like servants who work at his mansion who aren't monsters. He employs them to drink their blood. But he has like, maids and stuff who clean up and like people who look after the grounds. And he also will take all their blood. So he has like a big surplus of all this blood and he drinks a lot of it. And because he drinks so much blood, the more blood you drink, the more powerful you are as a vampire. And I think he's very powerful again because he's like so old and he's had a lot of time to like play around with his powers. So he can like mind control people and like probably hypnotize people and stuff. He can turn into a bat. All of the vampires can in this world. I think he can like levitate things. Bones cut that out if it's not true. Yeah, he's very powerful. He becomes friends with Professor Barnes. Sorry, I should call him Harry. So he befriends Harry when he's like, oh gosh, there's another vampire in town. I should go befriend him. And so they become fast friends because Corny's like, cool, and he offers him blood and stuff. But he's talking to Harry about his wife, and because Harry also has a human wife, and but Harry's like a much younger vampire. He's like a guy in his 30s, like when he was turned, but he's like 70-ish. He's not like hundreds of years old like Corny, but he has like his first human wife, and so they're really struggling with like he drinks her blood, and they can like go without blood for about a month before they need. No, sorry, not a month, 3 months. They can drink blood every 3 months and like survive. He doesn't have any powers because he doesn't drink a lot of blood, but it allows him to feed off his wife, and she does not die from anemia or whatever, or blood loss, because it takes about 3 months to like replenish all of your blood after you give some. So he's struggling with that, where he's like, I wish I could drink more blood so that I would feel better, and I wish I could drink blood from other people so that she wouldn't have to suffer, because, like, she has a lot of health problems because I'm drinking her blood all the time. But at the same time, it's like an intimate romancy thing, and he's like, I don't want to drink blood from other people, it just feels like cheating. But when he meets Corny, Corny's like, I have, like, blood on tap, you can just have some. But they're also talking about just, like, having human wives, and Corny, he's like, have you ever, like, melded minds with a woman? And Harry's like, what? And he's like, once you do that, you don't really need to have sex. You've got... No, sorry, I shouldn't say that. I'm going to censor that. But yeah, so Harry and Corny are good friends. Corny's weird, but he's nice. So like I said, meanwhile Harry, he's like struggling with all this stuff with his wife. When he drinks blood at Corny's place for the first time, his wife gets kind of jealous. She's like, what, you're drinking other blood? But she's also like, no, it's good. You should go to see Corny and, like, drink blood. It'll make you feel better. And they have that struggle. Harry also works at the college that all of the kids go to. And so when monsters start showing up in his classes, they kind of, like, recognize each other. Like, if he sees a werewolf, he's like, oh, that smells like a werewolf. Or, like, he'll notice if there's, like, another vampire on campus. And vampires can go out into the sun. Like, not direct sunlight. Like, if it's cloudy, they can go out. But if it's, like, direct, full, bright sun, they can't really go out. They get, like, badly burned. So he'll come to work, like, super early before it's light out, and then leave work when it's dark. Or if it's cloudy, he'll just come and go and wear sunglasses and bundle up and stuff. So a lot of people think he's weird. He doesn't sleep very much, because he's naturally very, like, active during the night, because all the vampires are nocturnal. So he tries to, like, adjust to work a normal day job, but he has a lot of trouble. He does a lot of sleeping, like, in the evening and in the morning. And he also needs to find time to, like, spend with his wife. Yeah, anyways. Harry has a rough time. He also kind of acts as, like, a dad to a lot of the characters, namely Sid, because, like, he's a nice guy, he's a caring guy, he wants to, like, help out all the monsters who haven't figured out their life yet, because it's hard living as a monster. So Harry, when he meets Sid, he basically adopts him. He also has a werewolf friend who is also a professor. I mentioned him in the first Inktober video we did with Parker and Trish, who are werewolves, who go to this college. So there is a werewolf professor who comes to their college, and so Harry notices that he is a werewolf, and he notices that Harry is a vampire. At first, they have a little trouble, because, like, to Harry, this other professor, his name's Professor Maple. So Harry notices that, like, Professor Maple really smells like a wet dog, and he's like, oh, this is terrible. I don't want to go near him because he smells so bad, but, like, is it just my vampire super senses that are making me do this? I don't want to be rude. And meanwhile, Harry doesn't really have a smell to Maple. He's, like, weird. He doesn't have a smell. So they're very, like, sus of each other for a while, and then they're like, oh, you're a werewolf and you're a vampire, this all makes sense. And they become friends, and they just kind of, like, dish about how hard it is to be a monster and live in normal society. They're cute pals. Harry just makes friends with everyone, I guess. But he does eventually adopt Sid. So Sid, like I said, he's a young vampire. He's fairly newly turned, like, within the last year or so. He's, like, a young guy. He's, like, college-age kid. So what happened to him is he was a troublemaker back in his hometown. He got into a lot of fights. He was a closeted gay boy because there was a lot of, like, bullies in his town and stuff. And the way he would deal with, like, confrontation is with, like, more confrontation. So eventually what happened is he happened to get into a confrontation with a gang of vampires who kidnapped him and turned him into a vampire himself after doing very mean, torturous things to him. He has a lot of PTSD about hanging out with other vampires because he had a very traumatic time turning into one. And so he has since run away from town. Sid, back home, he had a secret boyfriend who he dated named Dean, who was also mentioned in a previous video. So when Sid was kidnapped and turned into a vampire, he just, like, skipped town afterwards, partly because, like, he's a new vampire. He doesn't want to attack people. He's scared that he might run into these vampires again, so he leaves. He doesn't say goodbye to anyone, he just would rather everyone think he's dead. And so Dean is very upset, because his boyfriend just disappeared out of nowhere. And so Sid, he travels around for a long time, he asks people for blood, he doesn't kidnap and attack people. He'll usually find someone and be like, hey, can I drink your blood? And if they're into it, he's like, heck yeah, and he gives them a ginger ale afterward. But he can go for 3 months, again, he can go for 3 months without drinking blood, so that's a good long time to find a new random person who you can drink blood from. So eventually, when he comes to this college town, he meets Matt, who is another character who's mentioned before, who is a sweet little bean, and when they meet, Sid is like, hey, can I bite your neck? And Matt is like, what? He doesn't know how to react, but eventually he says yes, and Sid bites him and drinks his blood, and then takes him back to his house and gives him a ginger ale. That's a running joke with Matt and Sid, where Matt starts to like ginger ale because Sid gave him one. So eventually they start to date. Sid kind of moves in with Matt. Matt has a little apartment to himself, and Sid moves in, and they don't officially date for a long time, but they're really into each other and they keep kissing and stuff, but they don't make it official. One, because Sid is still in the closet to himself, kind of, and Matt is silly and doesn't know how to talk to people. So they dance around it for a long time, and when Matt finally puts his foot down and he wants to define the relationship, Sid runs away because he's afraid of commitment as well. So yeah, that is a very sad moment for Matt when his boyfriend just leaves after he's given him a house and he thought they were good together and he liked him a lot. Sid would also tease him a lot, in a really cute coupley way. He liked to leave spills everywhere. He kept emptying his toothpaste because it was funny. I don't know. Sid's weird. He likes to he bullies people to show his affection, which isn't great. Not bully as in beat them down and insult them. He just likes to do little stupid pranks. But yeah, so eventually Sid leaves because he's afraid of dating Matt, and he's also still hung up on his old boyfriend Dean, but he's sad because he can never go home to see Dean, and Dean thinks he's dead. But yeah, so he runs away. For a while he's just kind of living on the streets and I think he lives in an Airbnb for a while, but eventually he runs into Harry, and at first he's really spooked. He's like, I am scared of vampires, I don't want Harry to attack me, so I'm just gonna run away. And Harry's like, but wait, I want to help. It's you look like a scared lost kid and I want to help you because I was a scared vampire too when I was new. So yeah. So eventually Harry convinces Sid to live with him and his wife. And Sid is very he avoids Harry all the time. He just holds himself up in their guest room and refuses to leave. And Harry gets blood from Cornelius to give to him and tries to make friends, but Sid is terrified for a long time. But they start to warm up to each other. Harry's wife really helps. She befriends Sid because she's a human and he's not scared of her. And she's Harry's really nice. He just wants to help. Vampires aren't all bad. And eventually Sid starts to come out of his room more and talk to them. But he's a little cat. He's Harry walks in and he poofs up and runs away. Sid also discovers that Dean is going to their college. So Dean moved there. He goes to school there. And eventually Dean and Sid see each other, and Sid tries to run away because he's no, commitment is scary, I don't want Dean to know I'm alive. And Dean's wait, Sid is alive? What? And so he's really mad at first, understandably, because he's wait, did you fake your death and skip town? What is this? So he's really mad, but then he's also really sad and he really wants to see him, but Sid avoids him because he is spooked. So we didn't actually resolve that. The RP has kind of dropped since. Yeah, those are the vampire boys. That is Cornelius, Sid, and Harry. They are my boys. I like them a lot. And this RP is still kind of ongoing. There's many other monsters we wanted to introduce, and so yeah, maybe in the future we will talk more about the Monster Mash RP, because it's really fun and cute. And I hope one day Sid will be over his fear of vampires, live a happy life, and maybe not run away from every boyfriend he's ever had. So I guess that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for following along with Inktober. It has been really fun. We will talk more about what we're going to do for November, I guess. Bones will be doing NaNoWriMo vlogs, so keep an eye out for that. He'll probably talk a lot about writing and all that good stuff and character stuff. Check it out. I guess if you want to see any of my Inktober drawings, I have them all up on all my social media. They're all linked down below. We have like DeviantArt and Twitter and Instagram and Tumblr. So anywhere you are, we have these Inktober drawings if you want to go look at them. So go check those out in the description. And I guess I'll see you guys in November. Heck, happy Halloween. Goodbye.